Hello, everybody, and welcome to Late Night Football. It has finished. Southampton won, Liverpool nil. The match reaction show for that game, and what a game! What a game we've seen. And I think this is one of those genuine upset results that we talk about in the Premier League. I mean, there have been a few upsets regarding Liverpool for the last few games, but this one I think is one of those that you didn't really see coming. And I mean, what scenes at the end, isn't it? You see Raf Hassenhuttl is crying, it's the emotions flowing. I don't know the backstory there. Maybe him and Klopp are really good friends, or maybe Klopp is someone who he looks up to, and then finally being able to get the better of him must be really, very special. I don't know the backstory, but somebody could tell that in the comment section. But he was overcome with emotion at that win. It was a wonderful win for Southampton as well. As now for Liverpool, it is three games that they have not won, winless in three games. They drew with West Brom, they drew with Newcastle, they lost to Southampton today. I tell you what, let's say it's 7-0 Crystal Palace. I think Liverpool fans would probably be thinking, you know what, maybe one goal or two goals would have been enough there. And then the remaining five goals, if we could have scored those in the next three games, we would have had, we could have had the three wins. We could have 4 wins instead of just the one out of four. But sometimes that's how football plays out. But there's a lot to discuss. And I think the first step to discuss, I think, was the team sheet. And we often talk about managers sending out messages. This might have been Klopp sending out a message to the transfer board saying, "I'm picking Jordan Henderson and Fabinho in the side. I'm picking two defensive midfielders essentially. The Jordan Henderson sometimes plays as a central midfielder, but two midfielders, two defensive midfielders as my centre backs. Get me a centre back." That might have been the message that he might have been trying to convey. Maybe maybe the fact that he doesn't trust Nat Phillips or Reece Williams could have played a part as well. He doesn't have any defenders. But I think as far as messages go, and I don't usually subscribe to those conspiracy theories, but if this was indeed the reason, then that was the reason that he picked those, and he was trying to send a message. Maybe some people would say that, and it backfired. It backfired today because it's cost him 3 points in a game where. I mean, actually, you know what? It hasn't really backfired because I don't think the defense did too badly in the end. I think they did okay. I think that goal that came wasn't a fault of the two centre halves, but I mean, it's one of those things, isn't it? Where you send it, where you kind of have a vision of how the game's gonna go, and maybe it didn't go according to plan for Liverpool. The first goal that came, and I mean, we have to talk about Danny Ings. I mean, he was a player who I thought that he's going to Southampton. This is probably the sort of the winding down of his career. It's not worked out for him at Liverpool. It didn't work out for him, because of injuries. The fact that the team was always constantly in transition when he came in. He looked the part in the games that he played, but he played so few games. But now he's at Southampton. He doesn't have to play 2-3 times a week. He can play one game a week. Sometimes you get 2 weeks off because Southampton don't go too far in the cup competitions. They don't generally get into Europe. He's having the time of his life. I think credit to him for revitalizing his career, not looking at this as a step down, but actually as an opportunity to prove himself. I think credit to Hassenhuttl as well for revitalizing him, giving him that confidence, that platform to come through and to prove himself. And I think he's done exceptionally well over the last, I would say, 12 months, 18 months. I think he's done really well. And that goal, I mean, the goal that he scored today was absolutely sublime. And it had to be sublime because to score from that angle against a goalkeeper of Alisson's caliber, it had to be something special. It was something special. I don't think Alisson, there's the only reason why Alisson didn't get to it because it was so perfectly placed in that far corner. There's no goalkeeper in the world getting to that. It had to be that level of quality, and what a finish. But that goal wasn't error free. That there was an error from Alexander-Arnold, and very similar to what we saw from Connor Cody, where Connor Cody was trying to chest it down. In the Wolves against Liverpool game, where he's trying to chest it down, and inadvertently, what he does, he just plays it into the path of Mane. I think this is kind of similar to what happened, where he chested it down. He tried to chest it down. I think it was as simple because I think Cody chested it, but he misjudged the flight of the ball. I think Alexander-Arnold completely missed the ball, so he was trying to chest it, but it wasn't even close, and it just hit him and goes through, and he scores. But I mean, Alexander-Arnold was at fault for that goal. And the one thing we've been keeping on saying about Alexander-Arnold is that he's probably the best right back in England at the moment. He probably is. There's an argument, depending on what qualities you prefer in a right back, you might make a case for someone else. But objectively speaking, you would say Alexander-Arnold is the best right back in England. But the deficiency in his game is his defensive side. That's always been a liability. It's been a liability this season. It's been a liability in previous seasons as well. But Liverpool have got so much defensive strength that they can cover for that, which they don't have this season. They don't have Van Dijk. They don't have Gomez. They don't have Matip. They don't, all these players that are missing. So he's been a little bit exposed, not just in this game, but even in previous games. He's been a little bit exposed in that right back position. And today, I think again he was a bit exposed. And so if he's not providing that defensive contribution, what it does is his lack of defensive contribution is more than made up for with his offensive contribution, because he gets goals, he gets assists, he scores from free kicks, he does all kinds of things. So you kind of ignore that. You say, that's just something that you're living with, and you're trying to make the best of that situation, because even if he concedes 2 or 3 goal scoring chances in a game, he is going to get you 5, 6, 7 goal scoring chances in a game as well. So you kind of take the good with the bad. But today, I thought he was very poor today. He gave away that goal, and then 38 times he lost the ball today. 38 times. That's a record in some ways, isn't it? And for a right back to do that, that's absolutely a criminal. And some of those, of course, are crosses that don't hit the mark. You expect that to happen with the player of that, with that sort of game. But 38 times is still a lot, and I think you could see it on his face. Klopp took him off, and you could see he was disappointed. He was really, really upset, and you could visibly see it on his face. But I mean that that was a big part of why Liverpool lost the game, is because Alexander-Arnold made the mistake on defense, and then he wasn't really providing that offensive thrust that you generally expect from him. And maybe he's still recovering from that injury. Maybe there's still some lingering issues there, but that needs to be sorted. The other problem today, and this is something obviously with Liverpool, they've had lots of injuries, and and that's something you are going to have to see, that yes, they are decimated with injuries, they've had problems. The one thing you always notice about Liverpool is that they never ever slack off intensity wise. No matter who plays, it could be a youngster playing for the last 10 minutes of a game, it could be an experienced players. Everybody's on it, everybody's running hard, they're passing well, they've got run, really, as soon as the ball comes, they're on it in a flash, they're moving to defense to attack in a flash. Everything is played at, amped up to, maybe 100, 150. And, they're going for first balls. They somehow lose the ball the first time, they go for second balls, then go for third balls, fourth balls. They keep making you, forcing you into mistakes. Today we didn't see that. There's slight drop in intensity. I think it's probably 10. Maybe the fixture schedule got to them a little bit. Maybe it was the the fact that there were so many injuries, so they've had to use so many players over such a long period of time. Maybe there was a bit of lethargy creeping in. Not sure what the situation was, but today they were just they were off it. And there were moments when they were on it. There were moments when they were pressing Southampton. They were winning the ball, and you could see what Liverpool were trying to do, and they had Southampton in trouble. But those moments are so few and far between when you compare with the general Liverpool intensity. I think that was a key problem today, and that's something that Klopp will need to address, is the fact that intensity was dropping, because you can expect people having bad days, but when that intensity drops, what it does is it allows opposition teams to kind of take a breather, kind of set themselves a little bit, wait for the next attack to come. It also allows them to open Liverpool up a little bit more, because they have more time on the ball, because Liverpool plays such a ridiculously high line. If they don't keep that intensity up, they'll be caught. They can get caught out, which they were 2 or 3 times today. They were almost caught out. And I mean, Valerie, if his shot was a little bit more powerful, he would have had a goal as well. And that was probably because of a bit of slackening of the intensity, especially in the last 10, 15 minutes. They just looked off it, and that's something that need to be fixed. But it's a disappointing defeat. I think the Norway 2 is about a disappointing defeat. Just 1 shot on target. I mean, 2 if you want to count the Firmino, the fact they hit him and then it went towards Fraser Foster. So maybe 2-1, whichever one. But neither of them were serious chances, and that is another problem. And there's no excuses for the offense, because they had their top 3 first choice attackers starting today. They might have been tired, that's possible, but they still had them on the pitch. They still had Thiago on the pitch. They had Wijnaldum. Yes, they had offensively, they had players that can hurt you. So the fact that they didn't score a goal and didn't even create a clear-cut chances, I think it's a little bit of a concern. But for Klopp, it's of course a credit to Southampton's defense for the way they handle Liverpool, and maybe that is a blueprint for other teams as well to follow. I've been saying it all the time. If you try to park the bus and hope that for the best, you're going to lose games. You're not going to win them. What you've got to do is you've got to unsettle Liverpool in those opening 20, 30, 40 minutes. You've got to unsettle them and try and get a goal, and then keep up that pressure where you're not letting Liverpool just have their way in terms of finding passes and putting crosses, and you've got to be at it and force Liverpool back, because that's the only way Liverpool are going to be able to be threatened. Otherwise, it's just a simple game, of passing around and then waiting. Otherwise, you need a world-class goalkeeping performance like Darlow put in to get away with the point or something. But usually this works where you can kind of get through Liverpool. So that was an observation as well, that today I thought Liverpool. Southampton, had a clear game plan, and they did the analysis and then exactly what they wanted to do, and they executed it perfectly, and that was important. In terms of what this means for the future games, I think, because that's what we have to look forward to in terms of future games. I think one of the things that's clear now is that Liverpool, this result is good news in some sense for Manchester City. I think Manchester City will probably be the big winners from this result. One, because now when the next game Liverpool are going to play is against Manchester United, who could now be could now be top of the table if they beat Burnley before they go to Anfield. They're going to play Burnley, and they beat them, they'll be top of the table. Something, isn't it, for United fans to think about when you think about how the season started. I don't know what will happen in that game, but by the time they play Liverpool, Liverpool might very well sign another centre half. So that's something that will be there. They might sign a centre half. They're going to have just one game now for the next 2 weeks, and I'm pretty sure at this point the Klopp is going to rest his entire first 11, and then probably even a few players that he expects to play against United. He's going to rest. I wouldn't be surprised if it's an academy side that plays against Aston Villa. Maybe one or two players that are out in the cold, maybe the likes of Shaqiri, Origi, they might start. But I think the majority of the team is going to be academy kids. And the reason for that is because against Midtjylland, he started Diogo Jota, who's nominally a fourth choice striker. He's not if the front three are fit, then they start, and Jota is kind of like a substitute. So he's trying to start him to give him that game time, and then he got injured and he went off. And now they've been struggling because they don't have anyone to replace him with. So I think in this game, he's not going to take the risk of playing any of his subs. So he's probably going to rest most of his first team players. He's going to keep them all wrapped up. And then you're not playing as Aston Villa. Not going to take the risk. I think he's going to play academy players. He might just throw that game. Whatever happens in that game, I think that's the way he's gonna go out. So Liverpool in effect are gonna have a 2 weeks rest. United in that same period are gonna have to play 3 games before they play. They've got to play City, they're going to play Watford, and then they've got to play Burnley. You might expect a few changes for Watford, but I think City and Burnley are big enough games that they probably won't take too many chances with those ones. So Liverpool will be well rested. United are going to be fatigued. And then if United lose to Liverpool, that opens it up for City, because City are just 1 point off of United, and they win both their games in hand. They'll be, they'll then, if United lose to Liverpool, they will then go above them. So I think City are the big winners in this, because from that perspective, because it's going to force Liverpool into action. It's going to make that United game that much more tougher. And those are the two teams directly above City. So I think City will feel. I mean, if you count with the games in hand, and some those two are the teams that are probably directly above City. I mean, obviously City a bit lower because they haven't played as many games yet. But I think this will suit City. I think as far as Liverpool, I fully expect a reaction against United now. I think they will go. I think this will hasten the need for a centre half. I don't know if the centre half deal will be completed by the time they play United, by the time they play their next Premier League game. But this will hasten the deal. I think if there was any doubts about it, then they're going to be saying, you know what, we need a centre half. We need to get someone in. Maybe Alaba. I don't know. They might just accelerate the deal for Alaba now. They might just look for somebody else. I don't know who. I don't know what centre halves are out there that Liverpool are looking at. To be honest, I don't know. But they're going to look for someone. They need to try to get someone in. But it does set up an intriguing clash. I think it's all set up for a Liverpool 3-0 win over Manchester United at Anfield. I think that's just coming. That's coming. You know that's coming. You know that's happening at this point, just the way that Liverpool are kind of toying with all of our emotions. But before that, there's a lot more games to come before that for the other teams. So still a bit of football before we get there. Who knows what's going to happen. But I mean, the other positive, I think, for Liverpool, the only positive is the fact that Thiago did complete 90 minutes today, and I think that's good for him in terms of getting up to speed. I don't think he was at his best today. I don't think he had a good game, and I don't think he was at his best fitness-wise either. So I think those things can only be helped now with him playing 90 minutes. I think he'll probably feel a lot more comfortable when he comes back out again next time around, because he'll feel he's got 90 minutes under his legs, and so that's probably a positive. That's one of the few positives that probably Liverpool can take. But I mean, in terms of title race, there'll still be a lot of people who probably be now thinking, are Liverpool in danger of dropping out? I don't think so. I think Liverpool probably are still the favourites for me to win the Premier League title. It's again, it's about consistency, and City are probably now the closest challengers to Liverpool. The way that they're playing, they look balanced, they look good now. So maybe City can sneak in and get away with it a little bit. They can kind of build, if they can keep winning, then keep that form going, they might just be able to establish a lead. There's still those 2 games in hand, and that's the thing. If they played those 2 games and won both of them, they would be sort of in that position to then start, getting away from Liverpool and from Manchester United. So that's kind of the issue right now. But you just feel like City may probably the closest challenge, but I still feel Liverpool are the favourites at this point to win the Premier League, even despite this result. I think it's just a matter of fine-tuning a few things, tweaking a few things. I think they'll be back in it. But we shall see what happens. We don't know yet, but it does set up an intriguing month of Premier League football to come, and we're going to see what happens. But there's a lot of football to be played just yet in the league before we can make any predictions. But thank you for watching. Please smash a like if you enjoyed this video, and if you are not a Liverpool fan and enjoyed Liverpool losing, smash a like. And send me your comments. What do you think about the Premier League race? What do you think is gonna what can Liverpool do to arrest this mini slump that they're in? What do you think they should do? Love to hear your comments and your opinions on that as well. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Appreciate the support, appreciate the help, and we'll continue producing these kind of videos for you. All right, take care. Have a good day or night, whatever time you're watching this, and I'll see you again very, very soon. Bye bye.